Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. This time I'm talking about mainly this bit, my custom power supply that I just finished making for my charging setup, because my old charging setup wasn't adequate for especially the stuff for the electronic skateboard. It's just taking ages, so I'm going to talk a bit about that, how I made that, also how you can make that power supply together with some information that I found quite difficult to find on the internet. So hopefully this will help you if you want to do this, and it will also leave you with a really good power supply for a quarter of the price that you can buy one of equivalent size on Hobby King or whatever. Just to be aware, the voltages inside these power supplies, even when they're unplugged, can still be lethal. So if you are attempting this, just be aware of the danger. Also take some precautions, maybe wear some rubber gloves or something if you're gonna do it the way that I did it. That's what I did, just in case, because you don't want to end up in hospital over a power supply. So how does it work? Basically, this is a power supply from a PC. I've just disconnected all the cables that come with it, because we're only interested in the yellow one, the black one and the red one, but there's also two trick wires in there that can catch you out, which I'll talk about in a minute. So how did I make this thing? If I turn it off for a minute and unplug the charger and put that to one side, I will talk you through what's going on inside this. So you can see here I have, this is the way that I've done it. I've got an XT90 and an XT60, one for 12 volts, one for 5 volt output. So if you ever have anything that you need to use for 5 volt, because this power supply has a 5 volt output as well, you can use that. Oh, what I didn't talk about is this power supply is 550 watt at 24 amps. It's 25 quid on Amazon Prime next day delivery. So this should be more than enough. 25 amps into my charger at 550 watts should be adequate. I know these cheap power supplies probably don't supply, or definitely don't supply, what they say on the label. I'll just have to find out, I guess, see when it cuts out. Maybe it will. But firstly, I'll take the top off so you can see what I've done inside. Because I've had this switched on, I'm going to be very careful when I have the top off not to put my fingers anywhere I shouldn't. So I only put 2 screws in because I knew I'd be taking it off to show you guys. So if I take this bit off, it's stubborn. Okay, we can see the insides. So the important ones, like I was talking to you before about, are the yellow ones. We can get a better angle so you can see this. Maybe I'll zoom in a little bit. Come on. Okay, so the yellow ones, the black ones and the red ones. So black being ground, yellow being 12 volts and red being 5 volts. So you want to bunch all your yellow ones together. So I just bunched them all together, twisted them up, soldered them to some, I think it's 14 gauge silicon wire, to make it easier to wire to the XT60 or the XT90. So I did that for the 12 volt, the 5 volt, and then separate the negatives to half and half. So you've got half the bundle going to your 5 volt side and half your bundle going to your 12 volt side. And you can see the back of my XT60s are there in the top of the case. I have this 3D printed thing for holding them. I will put a link. I designed this in Fusion 360. I'll put a link in the description for that print if you want to do exactly what I've done, or just come up with your own. It's fine. So I was saying about, I had real problems when I was building this power supply because of one wire. There's a wire, the green wire that comes off the board, which is labelled PS on, is like a signal wire, switches the power supply on when it's low. So basically if you connect it to negative, the power supply will always come on. So I connected that to the negative side and the power supply switched on and then immediately switches off again. So for 12 hours or so I couldn't work out why it would just turn on and turn off. It's because this particular power supply, and quite a lot of power supplies after looking it up online extensively to find the information, rely on having to see a signal from the 3.3 volt outlet, and they also have a soldering point on the board called 3.3 VS. So you must, for the power supply to stay on, you must solder a link between 3.3 volts, because there's a 3.3 volt outlet on this board, and the 3.3 VS. So there's two links you have to make: PC on to negative, just to clarify, and 3.3 VS to 3.3 volts. Solder them all up. Solder all your negatives together, or your 12s together, or your 5s together. Then run them out to XT60s or banana connections, whatever you want, on the front, and you're golden. That's pretty much it. The only other thing I did to my power supply was add, you can just about, you can see the back end corner of it. I need to fill this hole with something, as where the cables exited before. I added a blue LED strip to the 12 volt side, so when it's on, it lights up blue inside, makes it go faster. So I think that's pretty much the whole thing. Like I say, please do be careful if you're gonna attempt this build. There are simpler ways of doing it. If you're a bit scared of going inside the unit, you could leave the cables running out, and then how they were originally. Just cut the connectors off, bunch the blacks, the reds and the yellows together, and then just put banana connections on them, and then crimp the brown cable to orange, which is your 3.3, and crimp the green to a black, and then that will achieve the same thing. I just wanted to come in and make it a lot more neat and purposeful, and in that way, for about 25 quid, 30 quid, you'll have a power supply that's equivalent to what you will spend £100 on Hobby King or wherever you get your stuff from. I think that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, chuck them down in the comments. I'll try and reply to any of those. I think I've pretty much covered it. Please like this video if it helped you. It would do me a world of favours. Don't forget to subscribe also if it helped you, and follow me on Instagram at JetBlackJules, and I'll see you for the next build. Cheers, bye.